All right, guys, we're going to be covering elimination method part 2. We did part 1 last time. So we're going to build upon what we learned in our last class. So looking here at the first problem. Now notice if we look here, if we add straight down, this does not cancel out. This does not equal 0. The x ones do not equal 0. And the y terms do not equal 0. So part 2 is going to teach us what happens when if we add straight down, nothing equals 0. It doesn't matter if I change the signs right now, nothing will equal 0. We're going to have to, and in this box we'll talk about it, multiply an equation by a certain number so they cancel out. So if I look here, here's what I want to check out. Can I multiply 2 by something to make a 3, not a whole number? Can I multiply 4 by something to make an 8? Yeah, I can. If I actually multiply this number by 2. So if I multiply it by 2, then I can do that as long as I multiply this by 2 and this by 2. So I'm going to multiply the first equation by 2. Now let's see what happens. I'm going to rewrite this down over here, multiplying everything by 2. All right, so write this with me. 4x times 2, that's going to give me an 8x. Minus, writing this one down, 2 times 2y, that's going to give me a 4y, equaling 20 times 2, that's going to give me a 40. So 8x minus 4y equals 40. And then let's just bring down that other equation here. So that is a negative 8x minus 3y, and that equals 16. Now what happens, since I did that, I can look here. And now my 8x's, those guys cancel because 8 minus 8 is 0. So my x variable canceled out. So the whole reason why I picked 2 to multiply by is because I said I want to make this 4x into an 8. So that way they cancel. The only way to make 4 into an 8 is times by 2. Now I can times by 2 if and only if I multiply everything else by 2, which is why I just took that first equation and I pretty much just doubled everything. I multiplied them all by 2. Now this is just like part 1. Everything cancels out, so I'm going to add straight down. Negative 4y minus 3y, that's a negative 7y. Add straight down here, 40 plus 16, that's a 56. So steps, first step here. I'm going to multiply so that one of my variables cancel out. I'm going to multiply. I should put multiply the whole equation. Multiply the whole equation so that one of my variables cancels out. Go ahead and write that down for step number 1. Multiply the whole equation so that one of my variables will cancel out, which is exactly what happened here. I multiplied the top one by 2. And since I did that, now my x variables cancel out. Second step, just like we've been doing, is just solve the leftover equation. Go ahead and write that down. Solve the leftover equation. Solve the leftover equation. All right, so solving that leftover equation. Now we're just going to divide both sides to solve it by negative 7. Those cancel. So I do get my answer here. Y equals, and 56 divided by 7. 56 divided by 7 is 8. Positive divided by a negative is negative 8. So I have my answer, or half my answer. Y equals negative 8. And if you remember, once we get that, we're going to substitute our answer into either equation. Either one. Doesn't matter which one. You get to pick. Substitute your answer into either equation. You can pick. Does not matter which one you pick to me. There are easier ones and harder ones. So obviously, if it doesn't matter which equation, I would pick the easier one. So if we look here, I think the top one's probably the easiest. 4x minus 2y equals 20. You can even pick the new one that we multiplied by, but that's just bigger numbers. So let's write that one, the first one down. 4x minus 2y equals 20. 4x minus 2y equals 20. And we're substituting here our answer, -8 for y. Again, the reason I picked y is because that's what my answer is. So I'm substituting -8 in for y. -8 in for y. So I take that -8 and I'm going to plug it into y. So cross out y, plug in -8. Plug in -8. Once you plug it in, that takes us to our fourth step, which is just solve the new equation. So now we got a new equation over here on the right-hand side. That's what we're going to solve. Solve the new equation. So 4x didn't change. Here, this is a -2 times by -8. Be careful with your signs here. -2 times by -8. Negative times a negative is positive. 8 times 2 is 16. And we still have that equals 20. Simple two-step equation. You can even do x is if you want. We are multiplying by 4, and then we're adding 16. So to solve it, we're going to minus 16 first. Minus 16, minus 16. These cancel out. Bring down my 4x equals 20 minus 16 is 4. Last step to get rid of times by 4, we're going to divide by 4. And 4 divided by 4 is 1. Put your answer in the solution box. So our answer is 1, -8. X equals 1, y equals -8. So same thing we were doing last time in part 1. Only thing we're adding is just this multiplying by 2. This multiplying by 2. Check your work there. All right. Now, these last two here, I'll start you off on number 2, and then you can finish number 3. Looking here, to figure out which one we're multiplying by, can I multiply a 4, the smaller number, to make the bigger number 5? No, not a whole number. Can I multiply 3 by something to make a 6? Yes, I can multiply by 2. So I'm going to multiply this by 2. So I'll multiply the first equation by 2. That's going to cancel out my y's. But if I multiply one part of it by 2, I have to multiply all of it by 2. So let me write that whole equation brand new. 5x times 2, that's a 10x. Minus 3y times 2, that's a minus 6y. Minus 28 by 2, that's a -56. Check your answers there. And then we're still going to take that other equation. We're not going to change it. The reason we're not going to change it is because if you look here, do we have a variable that cancels out? Yeah, we have our y's here that cancel out. So go ahead and finish this. 14x equals -70 divided by 14. Solve that problem. And then you'll be good to go for that. All right, so you're working on 2 and 3. And on the back side as well. Real quick, go to the back part of the page. I just want to change one or make you aware of one little thing. This would be the first one on the back, which is number 4. On the back, real quick. Can I multiply 2 by something to make 5? No, not a whole number. Can I multiply 3 by something to make 9? Yes, I can. I'm going to multiply the first equation by 3 because 3 times 3 is 9. That's going to cancel out my y variables. So I can multiply this by 3, but then I have to multiply all of it by 3. So let's write that equation. That's 6x minus 9y equals negative 18. On the bottom, that's negative 5x minus 9y equals 15. Now, let me use a second to catch up. As you're working, as other people are trying to catch up with you, take a look if you're already finished and notice, do these variables cancel out? We're trying to cancel out the y ones, but do they actually cancel out right now? Take a look at those two. Why don't they cancel out right now? Why don't they? Yeah, because they're both negative. Since they're both negative, they're not going to cancel out. It would just equal a negative 18. So we need to switch the sign. Now, you can pick which signs you want to switch. Does not matter to me. You can do the top one or the bottom one. I'm going to do the bottom one. So change this negative 5x to a positive 5x. Change this minus 9y to a plus 9y. And change this positive 15 to a negative 15. Now that we switched it, now these guys are going to cancel out. Because 6x plus 5x, that's 11x. But here, negative 9, positive 9, those equal 0. So now they officially cancel out. And this is a negative 33. And now you can solve it just like we did before. Divide everything by 11. X equals negative 3. Negative 3. Plug in negative 3 for x. Pick an equation, plug it in, and solve. This step, only going to put one step for this one. Just check to make sure the variables actually cancel out. Check to make sure the variables actually cancel out. So on the back side, I'll give you a hint. All the problems on the back side, they're not going to cancel out. You're going to have to switch the signs. The front side all canceled out automatically when you multiplied. The back side won't. So check your work on there. Again, this worksheet is due at the end of the period. Make sure you get these done. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.